Hello, and yes, we're working on getting live everywhere.
There we go. Yeah, we were about halfway through the intro before we went live.
No, we're still not live everywhere.
Oh, no, we're not live everywhere. What?
Yeah, Facebook and Instagram, we're having a little bit of errors.
Oh, no.
So give us a moment, guys. Gotta love it when there's errors occurring.
Yes. But, yeah. Is that Mercury still in retrograde?
Yes, he's being a bitch.
Oh, no. The Mercury in retrograde bitch.
Yep.
Oh, well. We'll get there.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Ashley. So we're live on Facebook somewhere. Well,
yep.
At least the break room.
Hi, guys. How are you? Welcome to Friday. Boy, has it been a week. This is. Go ahead and give the earbuds warning, please.
Okay, so if you're listening with small children, you may not want to, and you may want to put in headphones if you want to continue listening with small children in your vicinity. Otherwise, we hope you enjoy the show. It is not age appropriate for small children.
Yes, because we're talking about QAnon tonight.
Yes.
We're also talking about the effects of QAnon.
Mm-hmm.
This was a list of viewers' recommendation, and we decided it was already on my list to do a deep dive of this bullshit, that we'd go ahead and do it.
Absolutely. And hello, Brenda. Thank you for joining us.
Yay. Yes. Hello, Brenda. Hello, Ashley. Hello, other viewers. My baristas. Hi. Please like, heart, share, subscribe. All that fun stuff.
Yes. Turn on the notification bell if you're on YouTube. That way you get notified when we post new stuff.
Yes. And, of course, subscribe. So we're going to do some housekeeping first. Baristas, your magazine is about 4 days behind. It will be out in 4 days. We are sorry. It's the format changes and getting editing done to the magazine. But it will be up and out, we promise you, with good content on February is Love Month, so it'll be a lot of love and love dinners and dinners for two. And, of course, our standard Terrascope astrology, all that will be out and running.
Mm-hmm. But now, did the wallpapers go out?
Yes, the wallpapers went out to our baristas already.
Yes.
Yes.
There we go. Hey, Mika. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Because, yeah. It's amazing sometimes, like, the wallpapers are not even a thing that takes me a ton of time to do, but sometimes just, like, squeeze it in. Just find somewhere in my schedule. It's got to get done.
Yep. But baristas, if you haven't checked out your new webpage, please go check it out. Let us know what you like, what you don't like, what you'd like added to it. Mm-hmm. All right, next project, Mountaineer Pagan Nexus, guys. We are working on adding an events calendar.
Oh, thanks, Brenda.
To it for everyone to list events. All right, so let's hop into this ball of wax.
Yes. So QAnon is a hot mess.
Not really. I've seen this in the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
This whole movement, if we remember, for those of us that are old enough to remember and was included in the attempted brainwashing, there used to be a group that tried to claim that witchcraft was the Illuminati and that they were claiming to run the government.
Well, but now you also have to take on that, like, the whole satanic sex ring thing was like the like gold for tabloid news in the 80s. Like, yeah. I remember that. So was Stranger Danger. So was like a lot of this stuff is just so recycled.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Rachel.
Hi, Rachel. But yeah, this is a rewash of the same thing.
Mm-hmm. Well, because it motivates a lot of people. Like it like, we all want to protect kids. We all are, like, we're there. like that, and that's where a lot of QAnon is based around, is like protect the children.
Yeah. Yeah, some of it is
Oh God, D&D.
D&D.
Oh Jesus.
Satanic Panic, yeah. So this is just a repackaged version of this, now being used for a political movement. And since we're in a culture right now that is apparently not taught history, and apparently, for Rachel, you must be not in the right religious part, the right political party, because apparently us Democrats are having it all over the place. I guess I'm not high enough. Apparently, you have to be a 33rd level Democrat to be invited.
You know, dang it.
But come on, guys. Joe, give your opinions of the doc that Vice is doing.
Well, I'm loving the documentary series. Part 1 is what is up so far, and thank you so much for sharing that with us, Ashley. That was a lot to take in, just part 1. That's really starting to dig in. The thing I got stuck on, though, while watching it was, okay, but like, when did they start the documentary? Like, I really want to know dates, because I can't tell if they're like foreshadowing because they know what's going to happen. So it was like they put everything together after January 6th, or if the foreshadowing is just like, hi, this is where this is this is exactly where this was headed on January 6th. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sitting there and I'm watching, and I know some of the content, like some of the imagery or the video, was done, like, taken from January 6th. But a lot of the, like, earlier stuff is, like, earlier parts of the documentary conversation feel like they occurred before then, and they're already kind of veering that direction, like, this is what's going to happen.
Right.
Oh, wow. So, okay, apparently they did the Young Turks interview, the documentary team. So, yeah, we will definitely dig in there. And I meant to try to get into that this week, but other things.
Okay, so Satanic Sex Ring Cult. Guys, that is a refurb of the 80s Illuminati theory that was preached and books were written on. What's scary is a lot of this also sounds like David Koresh. Like, you listen to some of his writings and his survivors books, sounds a lot like David Koresh. Then we move on to the drinking children's blood to gain ever-living life.
Adrenochrome. Yes. Ooh, la. You got to scare the children so that they produce the adrenochrome, because it's made in the, adrenal glands, which totally isn't a thing. But okay, cool. Fun thing to throw in there, throw it right on in, and we're not making light, and I don't want anyone to ever take away from this episode that, like, we're making light of human trafficking. That is an issue. This is also borrowing from that problem and incorporating it. So, yes, we're being funny about this because what it borrowed from, while a serious issue, the incorporation of it is hilarious.
Right. Because for ages now.
Hey, Emily.
Hi, Emily. There has been this theory, if we could bottle the energy of children and sell it, we would be making $1 million. These are old conspiracy theories looking for a new audience.
Or more importantly, they're good conspiracy theories.
Yeah.
In terms of, they're very engaging. They will like suck you in. They will, pull you down the rabbit hole. And that's kind of the conspiracy theory thing. Like, this is an alternative form of events that looks at very key specific aspects and looks for things that could be explained another way.
Yeah, and then took a shot of LSD.
Well, but it tends to be like fine linking points.
Right.
That you have to start at a very specific place.
Right.
And, go, well, you could explain it this way. And then once you do that, you just kind of link it all together.
Right.
One little link at a time. And it does start to form this picture, but you're fundamentally broken on that first link because that ain't what happened. So everything that came after it is just a chain of ideas that belong to, or should belong to, Margaret Atwood or Stephen King. Like, let them play with it.
More Stephen King, I think, would be much more appropriate here, because I'm going to bring light to something. Gucci and all these brands, if they lock onto something, they buy it all. If you ever known a person whose net worth is more than 7 figures and they fall in love with something like Red Bull, they buy it all. What do we as a world have in a lovely, but not lovely surplus of?
Beanie Babies.
Children.
That too.
Multiple countries have orphanages. We have a very big problem in the United States needing foster parents. Children are literally, unless you're a gay couple, you can get a child anywhere. They will pay you to take children. I haven't seen Louis Vuitton pay anybody to take a bag since he stopped buying bags for Madonna.
Bless Rachel. She says, ooh, breeders. Well, we're not against breeders. They've made some of our favorite people. It's a thing. It happens. You got to put up with it. There's a lot of Jim Jeffries references I could make right here, but I'm going to skip all of them because none of them are appropriate. But regardless, but no, I mean that's a large part of it.
Yeah. That's a very big, large part of it. So please, guys, as you're hearing these theories and these things, realize we are not dealing with people that have logical thinking processes. They're used to being told what to do.
Well, and a lot of that has to do with, and I'll call it out, a lot of it has to do with Christianity. And I'm just going to put that there. Because when you deal with Christianity, and I'm not throwing off the religion itself, I'm saying when you deal with churches and denominations and religious leaders in Christianity, if you, one, do not ask questions. Two, if you ask questions, you better be prepared for some blowback and a whole lot of mysterious ways as answers, and that's it. That's all you're going to get is mysterious ways. But that sets up this problem in which you're taught through that religious organization specifically, and those leaders specifically, to accept things without question. And when you start teaching people at a very young age to accept things without question, to not question anything that you've been told by an authority figure, this is unfortunately an inevitable path that you're going to end up on. Is that now you literally live in a world built upon someone said. So anyone that you can view as an authority you're going to take whatever they say at value,
Right.
as it must be true. And we've seen a lot of, or I have specifically, IT, hello. I've seen a lot of problems with this just with like social media.
Mm-hmm.
And I've run into this problem with clients, specifically around scam calls.
Mm-hmm.
Because ultimately, these are good people. They're not bad people. They're not dumb people. They're not incapable of thought. But because someone approached them from a position of authority saying they're from Microsoft, next thing you know, they're handing over their routing and account number to fix their computer and then dealing with that consequence.
Right.
And I'm having to go in and do cleanup and try to like fix the situation and literally force them to call their bank and tell them what is going on, because I have struggled sometimes to get people to go, that was a scam, you were scammed.
Mm-hmm.
Because they are so locked into it mentally that they, no matter like the words coming out of my mouth, though they trust me, Microsoft is a higher authority, and breaking them from the belief and understanding that they were talking to someone at Microsoft is the hardest part. Once you can break that connection of belief, then we can get moving, and we can get bank account information, locked down, changed, whatever. But until I can break that can be a nightmare. And that's the similar kind of thing, is they were taught this is a big giant name and authority. You don't question it. It was, whatever they say is true.
Right. And we have and this group is following another, using the terminology from the Christian belief, false prophet called Q, i.e. Q Anon, who is supposedly a high-ranking official who is sharing secret information with the world because they want it to get out there. Q is a security clearance. It's normally a security clearance reserved for the highest in intelligence. It is the presidents, directors of state, speakers of houses, and they don't post to Reddit. Like, I haven't seen Biden post to Reddit yet. I'm quite sure he is maybe posting to Facebook, but he doesn't end it with a Q. People do not reveal their security clearances commonly.
Yeah. Well, and then there's also the situation in which you have to back up a little bit. Because part of what's influencing this is also Julian Assange, WikiLeaks, Chelsea Manning, and, there's a list of people here that have been whistleblowers that did have government security clearance, that did see things going on in our government. And ironically, talking about legitimate situations and sharing legitimate documents and being very, not, go figure this out on your own after you watch like 100 hours of YouTube, or read like thousands of Reddit posts, literally dumped the data. And people were pissed. Because how dare you break that security clearance? But then we go over here, and because we add all these layers of obscurity and, absurdity to it, we, again, mystical thinking, I guess. I don't know, this like Christian mystical thinking, Da Vinci Code-esque thing to it. Then all of a sudden, oh, it's got to be true. Like, no question. but you had legitimate whistleblowers who were trying to tell you what was going on in the world, and you were like, you know, hang them. I don't get it. It's like, what the hell?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's where I get stuck.
Right.
Oh, Emily is wondering if Biden knows what the internet is.
Oh, he knows what the internet is. Remember, he and Obama were the presidents that brought the internet to the White House.
Mm-hmm.
Their biggest problem was they were not happy that they had to give up their Blackberries.
And now he's having to give up his damn Peloton.
Exactly. He isn't happy that he has to give up his Peloton, that they have to adapt it. And it's like, he may be old, but he has been on this revolution. Remember, he's the president-elect that ran virtual calls, virtual meetings, virtual everything. Mm-hmm. So he knows what the internet is. He knows the problems of the internet, and he knows how to use the internet.
Yeah. Well, but it's a legitimate concern when we're talking about government officials and our elected, our elected representatives. Right. We've encountered that, and we saw a lot of that with like the Facebook testimony, Mark Zuckerberg, and the idiotic questions that were being asked. Like, okay, I'm not like I don't sit and watch the Super Bowl. I literally last episode had to go find out when that was. I'm not. Hi. But I had to go figure out like when that was to have that conversation. I am not one of those people that like sits in front of the game and like screams at a television. But I will tell you, watching the Mark Zuckerberg testimony, I fucking lost it. Mm-hmm. And I sounded like every dad on Super Bowl Sunday watching that testimony, because I'm like, what the fuck was that? Like, if there were a referee for congressional hearings, I would have been screaming about how blind the fucking ref was. Like, that's where I was at with that testimony. Or just because of the questions being asked and how literally technologically illiterate, and especially assuming that each of these congressional members that are asking questions has a staff.
Right.
That someone on there has to be 20
right.
to 25 years old and mustn't have logged into Facebook ever.
Mm-hmm.
Because, again, the questions were just so, are you kidding me right now?
Mm-hmm.
Are you kidding me right now? Like, you cannot ask that question and have ever in your life been on Facebook. Yes, and Rachel brings up a very good point. Mm-hmm. That was actually brought up in the Vice documentary, that a lot of this was correlates heavily with movies. Eyes Wide Shut, for instance. Apparently a huge influence. I believe the Da Vinci Code was mentioned, and I'm trying to remember, there was one more that had a really heavy influence on the QAnon conspiracy situation. Right,
because it isn't like Q says on March 13th or March 4th, they're now predicting that Biden will be arrested for fake presidency, and the orange Balloompa Loompa Shoompa will be flown in from Florida to take back the presidency.
Right. Hello, Mary. But that's also like a lot of this has been linked to like a cult. Mm-hmm. Not a cult, but a cult. Like mindset, in which there's a leader making prophecies, and no matter how many times they're wrong, it just, oh, well, here's a new prophecy. And everyone's like, okay. And a lot of this exploits a psychological phenomenon known as consistency. It's a big part of scams. Mm-hmm. It is a huge part of conspiracy theories.
Mm-hmm.
And what consistency is it's a consistency of action.
Mm-hmm.
So you start with asking someone a question and getting a response.
Right.
And you have an investment.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, if I ask you, do you think that, girls in education should be supported? And your response is yes, absolutely. Okay, if you're calling for donations to a school, your follow-up is, well, since you think that girls in education should be supported, how do you feel about donating $25? People will ask that way more often than if you just straight up ask them for $25 to support girls in education. They will give you the money because now you've made them say a thing, and now they have to support it with action.
Right. Also, this is my thing because it started around 2017. Pay attention to the date, 2017.
Mm-hmm.
Where did we start seeing major influences into the American world? During the 2018, 2017, 2016 elections. Big conspiracy over elections.
Mm-hmm.
What country was up to being problems?
Yes, that is the important question. Gotta love Russia.
Yes. Got to have Russia. I think this is being ran by Russia. Point blank, I think this is Russia trying to control and create our political problems. I also find it interesting that we have an attack on our capital and Russia suddenly starts having unprecedented protests to throw out Putin.
Mm-hmm. And to answer Rachel's question, the full name of the documentary by Vice is QAnon, The Search for Q. It is a 3-part documentary series.
Right.
And I don't think we fully identified that, so I wanted to go back and make sure we clarified. And Ashley sent that to us, and I absolutely loved it. And I was more so shell-shocked there wasn't part 2 I could immediately click to. Right. Because they're still uploading, It's still premiering on Vice. It started on January 26th. And it's, they're releasing part 1 and then wait and release part 2. Old school television things. It's so annoying. So you have to wait a few days before they post it online.
Right.
Oh, yeah. Loved it.
Loved it.
Part 1 is on YouTube, and you can search for QAnon, The Search for Q, on Vice's channel on YouTube. So not right now. You're watching the show.
I'm going to do the new T version of this. Ashley asks, it's QAnon being ran by Russia. Let's ask the tarot.
There we go.
We're going to do the traditional ladies fan and see what we have here.
Okay, well, yes, definitely, Ashley. I agree. Watch it before it gets taken down, but not while you're watching us. Just saying. Oh, Vice is a very...
No, not for tea questions.
No, not for tea questions. We don't need birthdays. Vice is a fun production company. They produce a lot of content, everything from like drug use and abuse to, the truth behind marijuana to they produce a lot of content that is investigative, very kind of in that, Dateline kind of mindset without like the level, like it's more neutral. Is what I'm trying to say. They produce amazing content.
Right.
They really do dig into issues, and they try to be very, very, very neutral.
Right.
Like,
And the link is in the chat. I just blasted it out everywhere. All right, so let's see what the Tarot has to say about QAnon being ran by Russia. First, we have the Three of Pentacles with the Lovers. So there's a partnership that gives financial benefit to it. We look at the consistency of the problems. Right now, they are looking for new money and also exploiting fears with the Moon.
Mm-hmm.
Moving ahead, we have someone making off with the money because they've made the investment, and someone being very hurt and destroyed because we have the Ten of Swords here going, oh my God, I can't go on.
Which is actually where a lot of the QAnons are. And that's an important thing we got to go over is Q versus QAnons.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's where a lot of the QAnon followers are at.
Right. And then we have the Page of Cups being looking for a new opportunity, followed by the Three of Swords, which means they prey on the emotional needs of people. So overall, does Russia control Q? Yes, it does. According to the Tarot, I believe that if we go deeper into a unpartisan view of the Russia influences on America, we will find that the root Q is being controlled by Russia.
I support your kink, Rachel. Sorry, her comment is conservatives having meltdowns on TikTok is my new kink. I'm
very positive show, Rachel. Very supportive of your kink.
Absolutely. And actually, Ashley was talking about Vice needs Aeson running a psychic docu-series.
Oh, docu-series for Vice.
Now, I will say one of the videos in my watch later that I keep meaning to watch is the one where Vice actually does a mediumship reading with the worst Yelp-rated psychic in America. I think that one's got to be hilarious.
Am I on Yelp?
No, you did not do a I don't think you're on Yelp. Why didn't we not put you out?
Get your butt to work. Don't make me call for it because I will.
Oh my God. Can you let your son out?
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt. I know you have points.
Cover your thing.
Well, cover what thing?
About QAnon. You keep talking for a few minutes.
Yes. All right. So one of the points of the QAnon situation is that there is Q, who is dropping information, and the Anons are kind of a two-parter. Part one is there's an immediate group of people that seem to have access to all the Q drops and seem to also have access to Q. And effectively, they're the ones going through taking the information and, you know, interpreting it. Like all the like random numbers, you know, and codes and what these words may mean and what all these different things are. So yeah, that's the first level of QAnons. Everyone else that is like buying in are also called QAnons, the more so their followers.
Right.
So it's kind of a traditional cult setup where you have a higher power, Q,
Russia,
this layer of prophets, and this huge layer of followers.
Right. But no, Q, and then you have the bakers because they baked out the ideas. I think they're baking something else, and it isn't brownies.
Oh, thank you, bakers. I forget that's the technical term.
Yes, and then you have the distributing. Now, the other effects. Q is not a mystery. He's a the Russian hiking sites. that keep making false predictions and preying on American problems. Anonymous is a whole different organization. Anonymous is pre-social justice warriors who are that will attack the companies. I actually like Anonymous. I follow Anonymous on a few different sites, but Anonymous is kind of like the
Antifa?
Yes, anti-fascism. They aren't an actual group of people, like QAnon is a group of people. We have proven through now court documents released by the FBI that there was an organization to QAnon. Antifa, there is an organization. There are people that believe that Nazi idealism does not belong in America.
Yeah.
That
well, now
does not belong in America.
Yeah. Anonymous, I want to be careful with something you said, that they weren't a group. They are, but their action works like Antifa. There is no set structural hierarchy.
Right.
Every member of Anonymous works on whatever they want to work on. Other people choose to join and support their efforts or not.
Right.
And it's totally decentralized. There is no hierarchy to it.
Right. So Anonymous, cool place. It's kind of like Black Lives Matter, but for computer nerds.
Well, for hackers, yes.
Yes.
Like, and that's the other thing you got to sometimes be careful is, I support what Anonymous does to an extent. There are aspects of it that professionally I cannot support. There are aspects to what they're doing, and their approach is what I'm talking about. Is a lot of what Anonymous does is based on illegal activities.
Right.
Like, you gotta be like, I personally struggle with that one. I appreciate what they do and why. I also realize the hell, havoc, and chaos it can create, and that is a very strong power that wielded the wrong direction. That's a bad thing. And doxing specifically, which Anonymous is known for, is one aspect that I have issues with.
Right.
Because that's a very serious problem.
No, Antifa isn't considered anti-American. It was only considered anti-American with an administration that didn't understand it's not an organization.
Right.
There is no group of Antifa.
No. No, no formal. That's the thing, is it's not a formal group. It's a belief.
Right.
It's kind of like Christianity isn't a formal group. It's a belief.
Right. The organization's formed out of that idealism is different.
Yeah. That's the best way I can explain it to someone.
Rachel, on your birthday, honey. And let me get Mary's question, and then I will take that on too.
All righty. Let me scroll up. Okay, I am not seeing Mary's question. Oh, I see it now. All right, let me know when you're ready.
Let's go.
All right, Mary, 11/28/57. Question for Aeson: is there something wrong with Lady Autumn, JLB's kitty cat? She is an inside kitty who is vomiting. I sense something is wrong with her. She needs a vet, right? Something serious. 7 years young kitty.
I don't think it's serious, but I think she's constipated and has a sinus infection.
Oh, poor kitty.
Yep. Yes, Rachel, that's actually the most important part for that one.
Yep. Honey, we know you. We know you are over 18, but unfortunately, because he's doing a recorded reading and the laws surrounding this, yes, we need the year. Thank you. I know. It's a struggle. Oh, if it makes you feel better, I'm older than you. If it makes you feel better, I'm older than you.
I don't want to hear it from either one of you.
Alrighty, so Rachel, 10/9/82. Oh, any idea when I'll be contacted for the job I applied for?
Looking at it, we have the Wheel of Fortune, meaning anytime now. Then we have the Six of Swords, which I call the one moving down the shit and moving your stuff over. And we have the Empress. So looking at it, I feel you'll be hearing about the job probably within the next 2 weeks.
All righty. Very awesome. I know, Rachel. We so hate that for you. Her comment was 38 and needing a knee replacement.
Yeah.
We hate that for you. Hopefully life post knee replacement will be awesome. That's what I hope for. Most everyone I know who has had a knee replacement just wishes they had done it sooner.
Mm-hmm. Feel nicely and greatly, and you will be fine.
Mm-hmm. And, the other thing to look forward to when you're getting a knee replacement at a younger age is the future upgrades.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've also heard that because I've known some people that had to have knee replacements in their 60s. And there's a lifespan to knee replacement. Some of those early models, by the time they hit their mid 70s, they needed a replacement, and they loved the new ones way more than their previous ones. It was absolutely awesome for them. Oh, apparently she's just milking it. Oh, she doesn't need new knees. She just needs a younger husband. Oh. Okay, Rachel, I'm just going to call this out, and you can take this as you please. In spirit, if your husband got any younger, I'm pretty sure that you would be a child molester in spirit, because that man it has the spirit of a child. It is probably our most favorite part about your husband. He is absolutely very child spirited.
Hey, great.
I don't want to call him childish. He's not childish at all, but he has the spirit of a child.
Yeah, and furthermore, Rachel, if you train him in, you'll just have to start training another one. All right, let's go on to Ashley, who's a two-parter.
All righty. And let's see. All right, Ashley, 8/26/96. Will the good luck I've had this month continue on at least until the end of the month, if not later? And if my luck changes for the absolute worst, please don't tell me that. LOL, just let me know it changes. Also, just confirmation, back in November, I asked about my husband's job and him being hired full-time, and he is in that process right now.
Awesome. Glad to hear about his process. Let's check your luck out. Now, remember, luck is how we create it. You need to continue your actions and focusing on not what you don't have, but what you have. And we have the Four of Wands here, which means it continues, but you need to focus on your home. All right. Mika.
Alrighty, Mika, 2/20/82. Aeson, I've talked to you a lot about having fun, LOL, so can I have fun with Robert?
Honey, you can. The question, however, is will you be able to enjoy it?
Ooh.
I feel that you can have a lot of fun with him. You, however, have to suspend some rules for yourself. Enjoy the guidance that you give him, i.e., tell him what you want, tell you what you really want. And watch, because he has a rescuer complex. He may come in for fun and try to move in.
Alrighty. Aw, Ashley's getting teary-eyed. Aw.
All right, so let's rock on through. Now, we've seen the effects of QAnon. In our legislator. There is a legislator who I just want to, like, run over with a forklift. Have her... I think that we need to start psychologically evaluating our legislators before we allow them into office. It's like I also think they have to have a IQ test.
You know, I think I would be there, and one of the biggest... Yes, Ashley got it on the first try. It is Marjorie, most definitely. Yeah. And there's some issues with her. She is a Georgia girl. She is not from that congressional district. Like, her entire life was outside of that congressional district. By the way, that congressional district is now a whopping 11 years old. Happy 11th birthday, congressional district that she was voted in from. Now, with that, there are lots of issues with that congressional district. There's also some speculation that she may just be playing to her audience, that the people that elected her because of her beliefs. That this is not a fluke. This is not an embarrassment to them. This is not...
It's an embarrassment to our country.
Oh, it is, but I'm saying that it's...
I hate to say this, but I hope the census comes out and her district gets eliminated.
Yeah, that would be lovely.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, sorry, getting coffee, guys. But yes. And she was... Like, Ashley's getting ahead of us. Like, do we just need to bring her on stream, let her handle?
No.
I'm giving you grief, girl.
But she was removed from her committee assignments. She should be removed from the House of Representatives, but they haven't moved that far yet. Of course, we have to get make sure that we secure ourselves from Cheeto with his trial. Then I think we should start seeing more movements like this to remove these people who are not representing America, have really bad ideas. Like, she had the nerve to tell a father from Sandy Hook that it was staged.
Mm-hmm. And to harass Hogue, I cannot remember his first name, a victim of a school shooting.
Yeah.
To harass him. It was a hot mess. Now, what has come up in this is a at least corollary. Don't know if it's causative. But the comment's been brought up about the fact that her congressional district is in the Appalachian Mountains, the very southern parts of it. And you can almost draw a line, around the Appalachian Mountains and what has happened in elections. And so the thought being that there's this group of people effectively that are in the Appalachians, and because of their history, they have a lot of issues trusting government, tend to vote Republican and be conservative in general, very heavily Christian influenced, and tend to be super, super supportive of politicians like her. Mm-hmm. That this is the bread and butter for this particular area, which we've seen in West Virginia. What were we at? 70% for Trump in the election? I do
Yeah,
believe.
but
Yeah, it was crazy.
yeah, but I also feel that's because of the Democrats in West Virginia were lazy.
Oh,
But again, there is a massive problem, and here's the double problem. In the Appalachians, we have terrible internet, limited educational system. Matter of fact, we're going to talk about that because I blasted our educational system again this week. I don't know what's going on with Ohio either. They normally do decent, but they didn't do decent this year. West Virginia, I'm totally ashamed of. But Marjorie Greene is totally a problem.
Although I will point out, I got to watch Hillbilly Elegy this week in part of my downtime. And I can answer what's going on with Ohio, and apparently it's all of us Appalachian hillbillies ran away to it. Like, apparently, you know, jokingly, we have said for years there is a circle radius in which one tank of gas will get you out of West Virginia, and that's where we relocate to. So that's why there's so many of us in North Carolina, Ohio, Kentucky, Pennsylvania, and Virginia.
But, and you bring up a great, and I want to talk about that movie too, since we both finally watched it separately.
Yes.
With also the QAnon documentaries, we're both watching them, but we're not talking to each other about them until we get here to give you guys the hot take of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because we actually realized we were doing that, is that sometimes we would be both trying to view content and pre-discuss it. And then by the time we got to the show, it was like cold tea. Like like the tea was dead. Like we already fought that out. Oh my God. So Rachel points out there are a bunch of conservative nuts. I had a steady treat of a Trump train go past my house for nearly 3 hours.
How many rotten apples did you get rid of, Rachel?
I don't know. Go the other direction. Go the Snow White Wicked Witch direction. Like, here's a big pretty apple. No, don't do that. That's felony. That's a lot of felonies, actually.
Depending on what you use.
But yes.
Anyhow, but looking at QAnon, what I see the structure and how this is going to happen, Ted Cruz is in trouble. I predict there will be, if he is not removed from office, he will be removed from office. One way or another. Green will be gone too. What is his name? He flew down to, Orange Tomato Juice, Florida's house to talk about his reelection.
Oh, you're talking about Gatz?
Huh?
Are you talking about Gatz?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's going to have a massive problem. I also think there's documentation coming out probably mid-June, early July that will show the Russia influence, and we're going to have so many people with egg on their face, it's going to be funny.
Oh, and sorry, Howley. Sorry. It gets hard to keep up with the crazies, okay? Like, they keep moving around on us. It's a little annoying.
Yes. Very much so. But we've got bigger fish to fry. We've got a COVID problem that has to be addressed. We have a complete government that was not ran for 4 years. Now, I know on my desk, if I leave my desk, why is my camera going blurry all of a sudden?
I don't know. You lost focus.
My desk, for a day, it gets covered in crap. Can you imagine walking into an office after 4 years and going, oh my God, the children have been in here?
Yeah, basically. Yeah. And that is where we are, and that's a lot of things we have to fix. Ashley is going with someone is visiting you.
Possibly, Dad is, it's time for Dad to come visit and give problems. And then I just figured out I'm having a new resident move in. That'll be interesting. Now I got to figure out what to plant in him.
Yes. Eventually. And that's if I remember correctly what I said. I don't know. It's been a few minutes.
Well, again, but we're starting to see reactions already. We are starting to see Fox News has canceled longtime host Lou Debs. Bye, you bigoted
Lou Dobbs.
Yeah, Lou Dobbs. Bye, you bigoted pain in the ass.
Yeah, my only reaction to that news item was finally. Like, there's a lot of Fox News that as they get fired, I'm just like, finally? Like, what did they do? What did they, like, and I'm almost curious to know. Like, we can make a lot of speculation and media has, and, there have been, outward comments from like Fox News as to why they fired someone. Sometimes I just think, did you get caught with like a box of company supplied paper clips in your car? Like, because I'm thinking that's probably the only way you're technically getting fired from Fox News.
Well, now they're being sued, and I'm loving this, watching this Dominion case come out. I'm really enjoying it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly, Rachel. That's where I'm at. Like, what's the line? Like, what's the line?
Well, here's the line. The line is when the ratings go down. When they stop making money is when they get off the show.
Either that or when it starts costing them more money to keep them on air than they're making from them being on air.
Exactly. Like this Dominion case that, they're now suing Fox News and the anchors personally, and they're suing Rudy Giuliani and the lawyer in Georgia. Her career is toast.
Yeah.
And they have it all on tape. Defamation, across the board suits.
Yeah. And that's like that's going to end up being like a slam dunk case. There's no way around it. Like, this is textbook.
Right.
Like, first year law students should be able to pick up this case file and like run it through.
Right.
Just run it through. Like, the only thing the defense needs for this case is like a barrel and some lube.
Mm-hmm.
That's it, because you're getting screwed.
Yes.
You don't have a defense.
Filed a $2.7 billion defamation suit against Fox News. Dibs, Martina. Oh, I'm just going to private message this crap.
Let me read the names.
Yes, let you read the names, because I have something, and this is not racial, but can parents please spell check the names of their children?
Oh, okay. So Dobbs, Maria, Barrett, Bartolomeo, and Janine Pirro. Sorry, I hadn't even heard of Maria till today. Like, this is literally, guys, the only way I watch Fox News is because I'm trapped in a damn doctor's office that thinks Fox News is, the link. So every once in a while, because I'm in West Virginia, I get subjected to Fox News, and I sit there the whole time going, this is how property damage occurs.
I don't know. Times I've started deciding that if I see Fox News on the station, I may end my services there. That's the only way we can start making major changes in our world, is start letting our dollar speak for it. All right, so we have a question. Let's take on the question.
Absolutely. So Greg, 111073, has two potential job opportunities. Postmaster or changing route will be better for his health.
All right. So looking at Postmaster, we have the Page of Wands, which means he'd get something a lot more, like he'd learn something and grow something. It will have more stress on him. He will stress and worry more. And he will feel undervalued with the Hangman. However, if we look at Postmaster,
I thought we were.
Postmaster, the new route.
Change of route.
change of root, we have the Nine of Swords, which is stressing and worrying. We have the Devil. And we have the Moon card. So, towards health, Postmaster. Completely. I would go Postmaster on this. I think it'll also be more financially benefiting.
Okay, so definitely get him into his doctor and go ahead and just start that blood pressure medication now. That is not medical advice. That's just common sense.
All right. So, moving on. In local news, I was perusing my news feed and I see a lovely article from one of our local news stations here about parents being outraged over this new virtual school that the county has provided. I read the article and I'm like, what? You're fussing over, it's too much work. And one said it was too hard.
See, I have problems with that article, though.
Well, I have problems with the article because it was very lightly written.
Yeah, and that's my biggest problem. Is it does a lot of whining without like being substantiated,
right?
Like in any direction as to what the real, like, break it down for me like I'm 5.
Right. Here's the chief complaints that I have seen from the news stations postings. That there's too much work for the students, that the students don't have the knowledge base for the grade level they're in to be in this curriculum. Okay, there's an old theory. The old theory is for every 1 hour of education, there is at least a half hour of homework. Okay. So an 8-hour school day would be 4 hours worth of homework, totaling 12 hours. This is standard philosophy through educators that are more old school and believe in giving homework, and that children should put education first. But I think the parents are screaming for the wrong reasons. It's too hard and there's too much work is not why we should be screaming for our children. What we should be screaming about it is, why is our standard educational system so far behind the same school in Florida, who is known to have not the best educational system?
Which is a fair point. But my problem is with the article. It is when we're saying that, you know, a curriculum is too hard. Substantiate that for me. What is too hard about it? Because we can make the assumption that, you know, okay, our educational standards in West Virginia are too low, that, you know, that a curriculum built by teachers in Florida, which is where this problem comes in, is to support remote education, they had to split students into a different program. So either, okay, these, you know, the Florida program is built on higher educational standards that is more advanced than what West Virginia is doing. We can make that assumption. But is that the problem? You know, is that legitimately the problem? Or, you know, we could also be facing a totally different issue, that an online curriculum, which this company specializes in, may be totally integrated, that you have to start here and go all the way through, or it's going to kick your ass at some point. Like if you drop in, you're not used to this, you don't have familiarity with this, your life's not built for this, then yeah, it may be a situation in which, out of context, like when you're used to working with public education, when you're used to classrooms, when you're used to sending your child, when you're not trying to homeschool, when you don't have a dedicated parent for this, or someone else to like
Do the job of a parent.
tutor, well, yeah, effectively tutor the child, whatever, to help them through this. It may be a situation, which we've encountered people that are going through that right now.
Mm-hmm.
The whole single mom works from home and
Mm-hmm.
now has kids at home that are younger and need some guidance, or a lot of guidance, especially for like behavioral difficulties, that are just absolutely at their wits' end.
Right.
Is that what the too hard is? Or is it that the format that it's taking, that again, given these kids have been, used to a classroom brick and mortar education, that this program is totally built online,
Mm-hmm.
that they're not, like, it's just not working for them.
Right.
That the methods being used, and the ideology behind the methods doesn't lock in for these kids.
Right.
Because I know I've encountered educators like that no matter how much I was into the subject, no matter how much I liked, what I should be learning,
Mm-hmm.
the educator and the methodology and the ideology behind what they were doing was a total mismatch.
Right.
I had throughout my entire education 3 different people, 3 different educators that I could not stand,
Mm-hmm.
because of their ideology and methodology.
Mm-hmm.
That one in particular, and that was in college, totally screwed chemistry for me. Her approach, her methodology, her ideology behind teaching,
Mm-hmm.
literally screwed what I knew of chemistry.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I went from high school, in which I blew the curve for my chemistry class,
Right.
to college, where I damn near flunked it.
Mm-hmm.
Because the way she taught and what she was trying to teach ideologically busted everything and took everything I understood and screwed it up.
Right.
And that's what I'm saying, is sometimes you can get into a bigger debate that it's too hard than just the standards are too low here and too high there.
Right.
That's where I'm like, I wish the article was more like qualitative,
Mm-hmm.
and tell me what's going on here. What's the problem? Instead of just this, it's too hard. Okay, it's too hard can have a lot of meanings.
Well, what was said to the Board of Education was that it was too hard, that there was too much work, that some of the teachers were, English was their second language and students couldn't understand them because of the accent. Do you what? They can't understand an English speaking teacher, and they need to learn how to process accents.
It can be a challenge depending upon how heavy the accent is. I will say that I have encountered that in classes in which language, even with proficiency, if there is pronunciation difficulties, can be very hard to stop and process. A lot of people get used to it, and you start clicking with it, and it clicks for after a while.
Right.
But there are some people that just can't do it. That the minute they hear an accent, northern, southern, 3/4 of the way around the world, that accent is going to completely, like, their brain's going to lock out. Like, they can't do both. They can't learn and process what someone's saying.
Right.
It's one or the other. I haven't. I have had that moment, especially beginning a new class with a new professor who had very heavy influence from a foreign language.
Right.
That like, especially when it's heavy.
Right.
That it takes a good while for my brain to go, okay, what? Okay, I got it now. I'm there. So yeah, well, and I like UK accents are one that can definitely make a big difference.
Mm-hmm.
Northern and southern accents, cadence of speech, like how fast someone is talking,
Right.
can also become a big problem, especially, again, depending upon where someone is from and the rate in which they're used to talking. That will flow between languages. That even if again, proficiency not being the problem, like, I know the words, this may be a second language, but I know all the words I'm trying to say. But if that accent's there and you're going really quickly, you can have problems.
Literally, this is the top comment on the stream. What the story fails to mention is how the new program is leaving children behind. The program is based out of Florida, and the teachers that are assigned to some students have teachers where English is the second language. How ridiculous is that, really? In the United States, where English is not our primary language, it is just our common language. Fayette County Board of Education is doing an injustice to these students. Some students can't go back now because of their blah, blah, blah. $5,000 grant spent on this. And again, the two common complaints is, oh my God, they're Spanish speaking and English speaking. And oh my God, the work is so hard.
Yeah. I don't have as a general theory, I don't have an issue with that, but I can understand how that may create an issue. Now, I do also understand that it opens a door.
Right.
Especially in West Virginia.
Right.
For racism and a lot of inappropriate comments.
Exactly.
And in let's just face it, West Virginia screwed up belief system, that foreigners are bad. And that's kind of, just as a side note, where we were also talking about Appalachia and Georgia's congressional district. Outsiders are bad. West Virginia has a general belief system that all outsiders are bad. And that's historical. That's what's happened to us. West Virginia coal is owned by outsiders, non-West Virginia people.
Right.
They exploited the state. They took advantage of people. Then they turned around and took advantage of them in terms of work conditions. So it is a prevalent belief. And West Virginia does have a lot of issues accepting someone who is non-white. Let's just put it out there. There is a lot of racism in the state. Demographically, we're 98% white. If I remember my statistics correctly.
Right. But here's the thing. Fayette County has been so behind in education. It is ridiculous. I feel so, and they have done trainings on the software. They have done trainings on how to do this. They even posted it to YouTube. We're hearing from your county, who has used this software and this teaching program for 2 semesters now. They have picked it up, adapted to it, and while struggling the first semester, the second semester they are doing much better and learning more. The other comments in here are about the parents not understanding the work, not understanding third grade work.
I know there have been a lot of issues with Common Core, and if I remember correctly, Fayette County has been one of the hotbeds for Common Core.
Yeah, they want Common Core. It's bullcrap.
No. I mean the other direction.
Uh-huh.
Is that there's been a lot of resistance to it.
Mm-hmm.
And specifically speaking of math, if it is heavily weighted on Common Core, I will say that Mercer County has been there for a while on Common Core. And believe me, the beginning arguments on that were hideous.
Right.
As they've been across the United States. But particularly Mercer County, I do remember when Common Core, adoption, like, because Mercer County just said you don't have an option. Like, get over it quickly. This is what we're doing. Just shut up about it.
Right. Well, Rachel brings in a good point here that if you put 3 Appalachians into the same room to speak, it would kill some people from other counties of Appalachia. But here's the thing. Now, granted, I'm not a big shot. I don't have a big corporate job. My real job, I talk to people that have Taiwanese, Indian, Spanish, UK, Scottish, Northern, Southern, Appalachian, Midwestern, all these accents. And if you can't process the accent, and I'm sorry, Russians, their language is very Gothic. Germans, their language is very Gothic, but guess what? Their English is better than my English ever thought of being. We need to teach children, especially in a global world, how to understand global accents when the speaker of the global accents are better at speaking our language than we are.
Well, and I can fully get behind that. But it does bring up a point that, again, there's a large amount of diversity. And especially if you're talking about sheltered education systems, which Fayette County kind of falls into.
Right.
In which, and West Virginia in general falls into, just as a state, we're kind of sheltered.
Right.
And a lot of that has had to do with our general dislike of outsiders. We run into a problem in which you can be a child in this state, and from birth to death, you may never hear another accent. You may never see someone who is non-white. It can happen. Especially if you do not travel outside of where you're born. It can happen. Or at best, you see someone who is non-white and you never interact with them. And you grow up in a racist family that tells you all kinds of horrible things about this group of people, whomever they may be, which perpetuates the cycle of racism. Because, it's a belief passed down through generations. Gotta hate it. But with that, it does create an environment in which you have children that are never going to hear anything other than someone who's virtually a neighbor, like neighbor by community. That you have teachers.
Here's the problem, and this is where it's being shown up. West Virginia is 49th in the country for best education. We are number 2 for worst education in the country. And this is just showing it.
Well, and a lot of it has also had to do with the fact that we are so predominantly rural. That so many of our counties are rural areas.
Right.
That are underfunded. They are, they lack technology. They lack decent quality internet access, not just in the home, and a lot of that has to do with poverty, but also as well, even in our educational institutions that are, beholden to whatever poor, unfortunate creature decided to sling a cable at them and whatever speed they're offered to support an entire educational institution.
Right.
With that has created a lot of gaps. And I do think that at this point, we have parents encountering a totally new situation in which they're having to interact with someone who doesn't look like them, who doesn't sound like them, and they have potentially gone through the situation I'm talking about, in which birth to death, they could have gone an entire lifetime without interacting with someone who doesn't look like them and sound like them and believe the things they believe and go to their church. You know, it's a tight-knit community. Those are scary words in West Virginia. You should be afraid of them in West Virginia. Tight-knit communities mean a lynch mob. That's what it means here. So you have the parents encountering that, you have the children encountering that at the same time. You're also going to start seeing overflow of beliefs. You know, you have students being challenged, and you have parents who are already not liking this situation, and then are encountering someone who doesn't look like them, doesn't sound like them, and ain't their neighbor.
Well, again, but the other part of that is, you know, Florida isn't number one. I want to know why West Virginia didn't take that $500,000 that was given to Fayette County and get an educational system from the number one. And I think it would be even worse, yelling and whining, but Massachusetts as the top education for K through 4 in the nation. Why are we going with number 27?
Well, at that, we also have the fact that we are already in a gap. And I think we also have a fear in West Virginia that if we move too quickly to try to adopt a higher educational standard, we're just going to end up with a crap ton of high school dropouts and, you know, a lot of severely uneducated people. As in, they're not just undereducated, they're severely, incredibly undereducated because they got lost, horribly lost, because the jump between educational standards, if you don't stagger that growth, you can end up losing kids because they can't jump from I'm struggling to what the hell are we talking about? Like, I don't even have a foundation to go from here to there.
Right. An example, this 4th grader probably got told last year in class, one of the days men will go to the moon. And now the teacher's like, the man's been to the moon. We put a flag up there. We got a bunch of crap up there. Now we're going to go and look at getting into Mars.
And then you turn around and have daddy saying it was a conspiracy theory because he read it on Facebook. Those are things we seriously, and I mean that very seriously, that we contend with. Like, you've got to stop and realize 70% of our population voted for Trump. Back that up. How many of those are QAnon conspiracy theory people? And how many of them have kids in this education system? And how many of them are going in and they are stuck in this same, as we were talking about previously, this same kind of mindset that enables and creates cult followers.
Right. But this is why we need to have standardized curriculum and standardized United States educational standards. That in 1st grade, you have to know your alphabet. You have to know how to add 1 + 1 up to 10 + 10. We need to get these standards across the board in this United States. We need to stop having sucky education and stop spending my money on wasted crap. Like football equipment, when you can't even have when a high school student who's now voting can only read the word Trump because he sees it on TV and on his daddy's car.
True. And again, I'll go back to the biggest problem we have with a standardized education system is that we've never put the dollars behind it.
Mm-hmm.
Mostly because our public education system has been dependent upon tax dollars that are approved through levy.
Mm-hmm.
And no one, and especially in West Virginia, God forbid you ever say the word school levy, because it's gonna get voted down. Every single time you put it on the ballot, as hard as people can vote it down. So we end up with an underfunded education system to start with that cannot keep good teachers, that cannot recruit and attract good teachers.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's why we need to standardize the full system.
Mm-hmm.
Pay teachers have to be able to teach this skill. Education across the board, 1 through 12. We should have had this down in the 70s. Teaches the same curriculum, the same textbook, the same everything.
I do not disagree. I do think that is the trajectory we need to be on.
Yes.
I also understand the problems we're facing getting there.
Right.
In terms of the money hasn't been there, the infrastructure hasn't been there.
Well, the money's there. We spend it on stupid shit.
Well,
we have the largest GT budget in the world, and we spend it on $2,000 hammers and $4,000 shovels.
Well, and new buildings because we don't maintenance, and yeah. And then we have the school voucher issue, which pulls money out of public education, pushes it into private education, and ends up creating, a student class system.
Right.
And not in a good way. I mean, like a caste system is what I should have said. So yeah, very bad.
And Rachel shares, she grew up across the river from one of the smallest towns in West Virginia, but also heard the largest Klan rally in the year, and it's very bad. Yes, the Klan has marched through Fayetteville before. I grew up next to a Klan wizard. I know who he is, and it's kind of like he knew me, and we both left each other alone. Yeah. But we're not dealing with that level of intelligence here. We're dealing with a lower level of intelligence when we come to QAnons. Like the stuff going on here, that gentleman who will remain nameless would not even pay attention. So I do have one last question. I'm going to take that, and then we'll wrap up for the night. It's Terry Janey.
Oh, righty. I'm getting back up there. So Terry, 31357. I applied for Social Security disability. Will I get it, and how much?
Looking at it, I feel that you do get it, but I also feel like it's standard. So that would be $875 a month.
All righty. Yeah. And I just want to actually pinpoint Rachel's last comment, which is, I remember being on a school bus driving past a smoldering cross. Can we point out, and this is not calling you out, this is calling out the situation. Can we just call out how effed up that is for any human being ever? Mm-hmm. It's one thing to read this historically, it's one thing to see this historically, but to experience it, that total situation of racism and the severity of it, that's mind-blowing to realize that someone born in the last few decades is still experiencing that.
Yeah. I'd say within the past 10 years, a child has experienced that in the state of West Virginia.
Mm-hmm. Like, this is what we're talking about.
Yep. This is the level of insanity that has to be stopped. And has to be removed.
But yes, thank you guys for being here, and we're about to swap over so we can do our final exit.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's been a great talk. I don't know what we're talking about next week. We'll always, if you're a barista, post in a Facebook group anything you think that we should take on.
Oh, absolutely.
Because we enjoy deep dives like this.
Mm-hmm. And we certainly appreciate you, Ashley, and the QAnon share.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
That was already on our deep dive.
Oh, yes. And we also want to thank Beverly Walker, Mika G, Kathy, Mary Winfield, Brenda Bryant, Ashley Guest, and the Crystal Lotus Shop. These are our Patreon supporters, and we certainly appreciate them. If you'd like to learn more about the show or how to become a Patreon sponsor, please visit PCSPnetwork.com. And baristas, our Patreons, are also known as. Yes, you can now start accessing the back issues of Under the Table and Dreaming on the special Patreon site just for you. And so, yeah, let us know what you think, how you're enjoying that, if that's doing better for you, or if you need any changes. And yeah.
Yep, and February's edition will be out within 4 days. We are behind because we switched formats, and of course, I took on uploading the old stuff so that it would be there for you guys to enjoy. And this issue will be fun, and it'll go up there. Yes. All right, y'all. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you for joining us. Please like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell on all the platforms. And as always, you can always share your thoughts in the comments below. Bye, y'all.
Bye.